You're responsible for a result that depends on three other teams. None of them report to you, and all of them are already too busy with their own priorities to worry too much about yours. What do you do? Welcome to this mini but mighty leadership lesson. Every week, we publish a brief but impactful episode to help you level up personally and professionally. This episode is part of a series about leading alongside AI, collaborating with humans while harnessing machines. In prior episodes, we covered the foundations of what collaboration is, what delegation is, and how to tell them apart. Those episodes are linked below in case you need them. This week, we're going to build on that with cross-functional collaboration. The point of this lesson is how to lead work across teams that you don't necessarily control or have authority over, where the incentives might pull in different directions and no one reports to you. You might be working with multiple status or authority levels across the company. You know that new app that's going to blow past all the growth expectations the CEO set? Well, the reality is it's struggling to get off the ground. The product team did a great architecture and user design. They've built a solid product, but now they need help from marketing and sales to carry it forward to customers. On paper, it's a logical collaboration. In practice, the product goes well past beta testing before they even alert marketing. And marketing is heads down dealing with their annual customer conference, and they have no clue that the CEO is planning to announce this new app at that conference. Sales is ready though. Woohoo! Hand it over. Sales loves any opportunity to get in front of their customer. But when they find out you don't have any marketing collateral and pricing has a 6-week lead time to even consider approving new product pricing, well, how are we supposed to sell that? Customer success hears about the new product about the same time as the customers get a hold of it. When they call up and they need some help with something, but the success team doesn't know anything about it and they don't know who to contact. Individually, teams are doing their work. Collectively, they're ruining good efforts from each team by assuming that the other departments don't have cycles and insights and processes to consider. Owning the space between teams and departments, even when you don't actually own them, is essential leadership in any company. So how do these situations happen? Maybe an EVP assumes that our talented leaders in different departments know how to work together, but they didn't bring their own SVPs together to discuss it first. They just set a direction and left them to it. So now each SVP goes out and really tries to do what they were asked. They set a direction within their division to try and attain the goal. They start working in silos. Maybe they forget to cascade information within their own teams. After all, the product team is going to need months to design that minimum viable product. So let's concentrate and focus on this quarter's goals, and then we'll pick this up later. Oops, we forgot. And marketing? Well, they're always overbooked and have a lengthy lead time. Sales, they're renegades. We know that. And pricing, they're so hard to get along with. I mean, they will not bend their rules for anyone. Now you've got siloed work. You've got finger pointing and lack of accountability and perceptions about other departments that get in the way. Oh, and then there's this tiny team in customer support who just developed a workaround to a long-standing problem that this app is designed to fix for a price tier upgrade. But support was tired of facing the pain, so they've offered it to the customer for free. Welcome to our world. Stanford professor Behnam Tabrizi studied 95 cross-functional teams across 25 companies. And in Harvard Business Review, he wrote that 3 out of 4 were dysfunctional. They failed on at least 3 of 5 basic measures: staying on budget, staying on schedule, meeting specifications, meeting customer expectations, and staying aligned with the company's goals. 3 out of 4. Tabrizi found that these teams were hurt by unclear governance and a lack of accountability, vague goals, or frankly, just organizations that don't really prioritize cross-functional work anyway. The biggest difference for the ones that worked, that did a good job, wasn't really about talent or chemistry. It was clear ownership. And we talked about that in the last episode, making sure you delegate to one clear owner. The teams that succeeded had one person with real authority and accountability for the whole outcome. The ones that failed had a committee. We might take an example of an expensive version of this story with Sony. Sony, who invented portable music. The Walkman was theirs, the market was theirs, but they worked in silos internally. Different Sony divisions built competing music players and fought with each other, and while they were dragging their feet and competing internally, Apple came along with digital music, one mission, one product, and took the market. Sony should have owned that. Gillian Tett writes about this in her book, The Silo Effect. As a company gets big and successful, that success ignites territorial behavior, where one by one, each product or function builds its own bureaucracy and tools and then begins to start to defend those resources. And those silos didn't just slow Sony down. They lost them business. They lost the market. But I know a lot of you out there are not working in giant corporations like Sony, so I want to be clear, we see this happen everywhere. Smallish company, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. Medium-sized company that's been assembled by acquiring a bunch of different entities, very popular right now, even harder. Because now you've got people who don't know each other with duplicative responsibilities, turf wars, culture clashes. And the CEO will say something like, well, we invested in smart, talented people and we need to work together and get along, which sounds nice, but without clear ownership and direction, frequent communication, it's well-meaning advice, but it's not that practical. And for many of us, it could feel like we don't have much input or control anyway. Cross-functional business usually has to start very high and work its way through the org because we're often structured by status, span of control, authority, and frankly, egos. But my advice to you is this: don't let that organizational structure enforce walls in the shape of barriers between you and other teams. Maybe your top level execs are chaotic, infighting messes, constantly jockeying for power and control. Are you able to get work done despite that? Cross-functional success often relies on your great connected relationships and influence. So become awesome friends with the head engineer and product, or help out the sales team by providing quarterly updates on what your team does and how it helps your customer. Sit with the support team to learn their top 10 complaints and see if you can help resolve any of them. Or talk to pricing to understand that there are legal and compliance intricacies, that they're not just being bullish and hard-headed, but they can't mess with certain rules and regulations no matter how desperate you are to circumvent the timing in the process. Your power comes from the connections and the knowledge that you amass within the organization. You'll be shocked at how empowered your team becomes when they have access to people and knowledge in a give and take collaborative way throughout the company. So how do we apply the Helm method to cross-functional collaboration? Step one is aim. Start with yourself. Look at the work. Before you figure out how to solve a problem or achieve an initiative, look at your perceptions about the work. Are you heading into this already convinced that another team is the problem, that marketing is territorial and sales doesn't listen? What have you decided before the project even starts? Because that colors the decisions that you make and how you actually engage with people. I want you to notice that first. A leader needs to really check their perception and their assumptions to avoid bringing that tension straight into that cross-functional collaboration that you're trying to create. Look at your work very closely. Does it impact somebody else? Does it depend on other people in the organization? Does it require insight, help, contribution, approvals? Cross-functional work fails because teams optimize for their own target. They forget to consider other people and how you could work together and help each other. So before anything else, I want you to name that shared outcome that matters the most, more than your own team metrics or any other team metric, and set your intention to lead a cross-functional collaboration that enables you all to win. Point everyone at that collective result first. Step two is act. Take considered action. So name a primary owner. And if it's you, lead like you're the primary owner. You may have sponsors and stakeholders across departments, but aim for one person who really owns and champions the whole outcome, end to end, with the authority to make the call when functions disagree. As high up the chain as you can possibly get it without creating a bottleneck, because those are very busy people. You may have a coordinator to book meetings, but it's not a coordinator who owns this. You need an owner who's accountable for the results across teams. Often an executive champion will delegate that ownership to someone and kind of stay out of the weeds, not become the bottleneck, but they'll want the decisions and the milestones to be rolling back up to them regularly. If you're the one handed that authority, own it. Don't sit in a room with a cross-functional team and say, oh, I need to check with our sponsor on that. You may be running back to check with your sponsor behind the scenes, but you need to lead as if the authority is yours. The moment you visibly defer to somebody else, you're going to lose some respect and momentum and attention for that initiative. Lead like it's yours, even when the people aren't yours. Lead through a clear goal and a clear collective stake, not so much through the org chart and the layers there. Be respectful of that, absolutely. Be inclusive of that, absolutely. But leading people who don't report to you is part of peopleship. It's in practice shaping how the work feels so that people want to work with you no matter which part of the organization and which layer of the organization they're in. Then the third step is adjust. Notice, pay attention to how it's going all along the way, and correct with grace as needed. When you act on your intention, you're still going to hit some pitfalls or obstacles or see signals that you actually read wrong initially. You may just have made a wrong call somewhere along the way. That's okay. Intentional leadership means practicing with awareness, noticing how things are going, and actually adjusting along the way, not sticking with this picture, this ideal vision of how this cross-functional collaboration is going to go and thinking that that's what's happening. Pay attention to your clues, ask for feedback, and Course correct with compassion and grace for yourself and for the people that you're working with. And as you learn these lessons, weave them into your knowledge and your tool sets so that the next time you make a better call out of the gate. And cross-functional work, you also need to watch the handoffs, not just the tasks. So failures often live in the space between teams where people think somebody else is going to pick up the work. Be mindful of where work passes between one function and another, and don't let progress drop there. One other thing to be mindful of with cross-functional collaboration are the incentives. Sometimes we're incented for opposite things. And as you notice that, you may need to take that to your executive sponsor with some potential solutions and help get it sorted out so that we're collaborating and not competing. A couple of ways that you can bring this into your work this week. An easy way is to look for opportunities to connect with people outside of your own department. Go find them, create real connections, be interested in what they do and how they do it, and make it a give and take situation, not just an all take relationship. You can also ask for opportunities to be part of a cross-functional initiative or find the opportunity, recommend it, raise it up, especially if it benefits your leader and you're willing to take on a lot of the work. You're likely to be granted the authority to step into that initiative. Cross-functional collaboration leads to optimal personal, professional, and company-wide outcomes. So look for the opportunities and let people know that you're interested. A little bit harder is to find a handoff that's most likely to break between departments, teams, or divisions. Take the initiative to work with those departments to come up with solutions to solve that break. And then a bonus for you this week to consider is this episode is all about leading alongside AI. And so far, we've been very focused on human components of this. We're getting closer in upcoming episodes to weaving in the AI component. But one way that you could look at a cross-functional team is to regularly look at what each department is doing with AI, how they use it, the investment, the tools, the outcomes, the lessons learned, the impact. See what can be leveraged beyond the department who's using it today. Cross-functional work is not about getting everyone to like each other, to play nicely together. It's about shared outcomes and collective gains. It has to be owned and led. One shared goal, one owner, and a close eye on the handoffs. Start with yourself, and then lead others, even if they don't directly report to you. Be a boss. We publish new Many But Mighty leadership lessons every week. This one is part of a multi-episode series on leading alongside AI. We started out with some basic understandings of collaboration and delegation. We've been focused on doing that with human teams, and in the next episode, we're going to carry those lessons forward to collaborating with AI. Thanks for joining us. I encourage you to tap like and subscribe and consider sharing this with a friend. We'll see you here next week.